Good morning.
Hey, what's up good people? My name is YellowMotion and welcome to my review for Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human is the highly anticipated game developed by Quantic Dream that's based on the tech demo Kara from 2012. And just like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human is a heavy story-centric game that relies on your choices for you to shape the story. With this game, the studio was set to deliver their most ambitious project and game yet, as Quantic Dream always had been known to tell fascinating stories that always have a special approach in its many possibilities and outcomes that is shaped by the player. And that's more than ever true for this game, as the characters may survive or die depending on your choices you make, which serve to shape up the story that's unique to the player. This way, you get to deal with the different perspectives and the different emotions, and as a result, you have to face and make very difficult choices with hard-hitting consequences that will define your own experience. So the question is, did Quantic Dream really deliver on its goals and ambitions? Do the choices and actions really matter? And does it really deliver on giving the player the freedom to create and shape your own unique story experience that would be different for another person? Well, let's find out and see what I had to say.
Hi, it's good to see you again. Great to start the weekend with Detroit.
The setting is Detroit and it takes place in the year 2038, and with the advanced development of technology, it has led to the invention and the perfection of human look-alike androids made by CyberLife, as they are part of our society and are incorporated in our daily lives and job sectors. And people can even buy their personal androids for themselves or for other various commonly used activities and hobbies. And this results in a shift in balance and people being highly unemployed since the androids have taken over the jobs. And not everybody is happy with this. And ultimately, the theme and concept is the story of us humans and androids living together in society, where eventually the androids gain self-consciousness and develop their own higher form of artificial intelligence, where they can think, mimic and show human emotions, decide for themselves and pretty much are alive and want to be free. These type of androids are called deviants. The story of Detroit is told from the perspectives and scenarios from 3 different androids with different motives and personal goals. Kara, a newly created housekeeper android. She's the owner of Todd Williams and is taking care for his daughter, Alice.
I'm sure we used to be friends before I was reset. Maybe we can be friends again.
When one day Todd loses control and wants to hurt Alice, Kara breaks free from her system and escapes with Alice to find a place where they can be free and safe together.
I was so scared of losing you.
Marcus, a personal android of painter Carl Manfred. Through certain events he's pulled out of his life and that leads him to break free from the system and be awake. He takes the initiative to become a leader of the androids and may direct them into a violent or peaceful revolution against the human oppression.
This is a night our people will remember.
Connor is a special designed android made by CyberLife to investigate, hunt down and deal with deviant androids that have deviated from their normal behaviors. And he's sent to assist the Detroit City Police Department with his partner Officer Hank.
Lieutenant Anderson, my name is Connor. I'm the android sent by CyberLife.
The storytelling in Detroit is just like watching a movie. As a player, each time you're in control of one of the 3 main characters with their own chapters, as you want to see how the story progresses slowly but steadily, the narrative construction of the 3 characters come together. Do you care for Kara and Alice and will make the right choices and actions to protect them and to reach for a safer place for the both of them? You want to see how Marcus is going on a path to fight for what he believes in and how he's going to lead the revolution to set the androids free. Are you with the androids and want to fight for their rights, either peacefully or by using violence?
You created machines in your own image to serve you. You made them intelligent and obedient with no free will of their own. But something changed, and we opened our eyes.
And as Connor, you want to uncover how exactly the androids become deviants and become self-aware of themselves, and also how they can show human emotions and become alive. And do you obey your mission to save humanity and track down the deviants to know what exactly is happening and how you can stop the uprising and the revolution of the androids?
Please, you gotta save my little girl. Wait. You're sending an android?
All right, ma'am. You need to go.
You can't do that. Why aren't you sending a real person?
In the end, in Detroit, the choice is pretty much yours on how everything will develop. So the game does a really great job in making you care for its main and believable characters, as you get attached to them in the game, which makes the experience much better and much enjoyable. And all playable characters can die in the course of the story. Therefore, the story can continue without any of them. And of course, emotion plays a huge role where you have to make some tough choices, as throughout the game, the emotional stakes and implications keep on rising. There is so much going on, and the game does a great job in showing and giving you many chances and opportunities to make those choices that will lead up to its final climax of the game. And all I can say is that everything has pretty much a reason that you see in the game. And I had several moments where I just had to either make a small or a big decision, where I just needed to pause the game and think what possibly could happen and how it would affect the flow of the story and the characters. So the game does a great job in making me invested heavily into the story and the characters, and I found that really great. Each time you finish a chapter, you get to see a flowchart of the various outcomes. Some are pretty linear depending on the chapter and the scenarios, while others are massive with many various outcomes and possibilities. What the game also shows you up front is not what you've missed, but what path you have chosen. As really there is no right or wrong in this game, as ultimately you're creating your own unique experience by shaping up your story. The performances in Detroit are of great quality. Pretty much everyone in this game that has portrayed the character has done a terrific job, and it makes everything much more immersive and believable for the player. But it's not only them, as many side characters who are still very important are doing a great job for their roles, such as Lance Henriksen as Carl, Minka Kelly as North, Evan Park as Luther, and Clancy Brown as Hank.
Listen, I don't give a fuck about your instructions. I told you to wait here, so you shut the fuck up and you wait here.
With its characters and story, there's also the score, and that's very emotional and very themed to the various characters. I mostly found the theme of Kara to stand out of it all, since that's a very beautiful, strong and emotional score to listen to. And when it kicks in during the scenes, it all gives much more weight, depth and emotion to it all. But nonetheless, the entire score of Detroit perfectly blends in with the scenes and scenarios, as it's very emotional, epic, low-paced and quiet when it needs to be, and it will surely hit those emotional strings in certain scenes. Detroit is a heavily interactive story-driven game, so you can imagine that the gameplay is very basic. There isn't much depth to it, with basic controls for movement and interaction. Nor is it about having a skill, it's more relied on making the choices and pressing buttons for the QTEs. As far as interactivity, every character has more or less their own special ability. As Connor, you can analyze your surroundings and look for clues to reconstruct scenes, and with that, gain more info that can unlock more choices and alternative options. You have something similar as well for Marcus, but with him, you analyze a certain situation and see what your best approach could be, and decide what is the best action to perform at that current time. So gameplay wise there isn't much to it, and I wish there was just a little bit more freedom to the movement and more natural interactivity with the controls instead of the QTEs. Especially with certain scenes where you are either running, shooting or doing combat. The QTEs are good for certain scenes and choices, but really the lack of freedom in the majority of the gameplay in Detroit is what really makes it an interactive movie. But that's just the limit of this medium. The graphics in Detroit look really amazing, with a great detail to the modeling and environments, and a great photorealistic lighting and texturing of the characters. It's a visual treat and a great production value, both in terms of graphics and staging. And with that, Detroit is definitely on par to showcase what the PlayStation 4 is capable of. It's like really watching a high production movie. And me personally, I already love the theme and concept of Detroit. So the game makes you really think about the future, which is a scary thing depending on your perspective. And as much as I enjoyed Detroit, ultimately I wanted to know and experience one thing, and that is, do the choices and actions you make in the game really matter? And I can tell you that yes, it does, very much. You see, even though I didn't notice it throughout my first playthrough, I thought that certain scenarios and possibilities in various chapters were more or less fixed and part of the main linear storytelling concept, or places where I thought that certain characters just couldn't die yet. It was really on my second playthrough where I saw and realized how big of a non-linear storytelling scope this game was. And depending on every possible action, whether it's an important one or an optional one, and info that you can gain by unlocking and affecting the story, along with the relationships that you develop with the certain characters, all have an influence throughout the entire game, as you're given certain possibilities and opportunities in chapters that not only have an effect on that specific chapter or scenario, but also on other upcoming chapters where you shall realize it during your playthrough. And the second question I asked myself was, do you really create your own story, and are there really high stakes for the characters? Yes, you do create your own version, and pretty much everyone's lives are at stake, even the side characters, as there isn't really a path for anyone in this game, and depending on your experience, you can either have one additional character that lives with you at the end, or die out pretty much from mid-game. It's the deepest way I've seen in a game for the storytelling genre, and depending on your playthrough and the overall ending and conclusion you get to see, you might be disappointed where not a lot of depth or explanation is given, or you may be relieved to see the outcome of an entirely different possibility. But that's the beauty, you see? Detroit is a truly special story-driven game that really unfolds on your choices and actions with real hard-hitting consequences, not only at the moment, but also later on when you don't even realize it. Since every choice and action not only determines the character's fate, but that of the entire city and possibly beyond. It's really a non-linear storytelling game. So in the end, it's all about giving you the control and the liberty for you to decide how you create your story between the outcome of the humans and the androids. Do you strive and resolve everything where androids and humans can understand each other and live in peace? Or do you see that there is no other option and you fight everything with violence for what you believe in, either for the humans or the androids? It's all leaving it up to you. So my advice is simple to you guys. If you're already familiar with this type of interactive narrative story-driven games from Quantic Dream like Beyond Two Souls or Heavy Rains, then this is definitely the game for you, and you will surely won't be disappointed and will have an absolute great time with it. As for myself, it's by far the best experience I had with this genre, both on an enjoyment level and on an immersive level with the story and its characters. I love great story-driven games from all types of genres, but having a game, especially like Detroit, where you have all these choices and many possible outcomes, you truly feel you're part of making your own decisions where you shape up your own story. And playing the game a second time will give you a very different experience for sure, as the game isn't made to tell a story with some alternatives and variations. It's making sure to give you many options and outcomes that will define your experience that's unique to you. But nonetheless, Detroit is a great game and a unique experience. Very beautiful, amazing, and emotional. It does its very best to convey emotion, and it has a great cinematic feel. From the first minute to the end, I was really hooked. And Quantic Dream has done a fantastic job in making a solid and fulfilling game for this very rare genre, and has surely reached a new bar by giving the player a truly unique experience with the interactive storytelling format. And it makes the player connect to the characters and relate to them very much, which is why Quantic Dream achieved their purpose with Detroit, which is quite clearly the best achievement so far. And there you have it, guys. That was my review for Detroit Become Human. Hopefully my review was very insightful for you to get a good idea to what the game had to offer and what to expect from it. But my question for you guys is, have you played Detroit yet? Or are you planning to play it? If so, what are your thoughts on the whole game and how was your experience? Jump into the comment section below and leave me your thoughts. And listen guys, while you are here, why don't you like the video and become a subscriber to my YouTube channel? And follow me on my social media, simply at YellowMotion for more updates. And that'll do it for me guys. Thanks a lot for being here and thanks a lot for watching. I see you guys in the next one. Peace!